Hello, everyone. This is Commissioner Dick Schutz here. I'm back for another fantasy football review and preview. Now, before I go ahead and dip in, I want to apologize for missing the last 2 weeks. I have been really busy, so I'm trying to balance everything. And with that, this has kind of taken a back seat. So, again, I apologize. Moving forward, I'm hoping to do this weekly. And I want to do my very best to stay on top of everything. That's, what I can guarantee to you guys. And that's what I can promise you guys is that I will do my best. In the meantime, I want to review weeks 4 and week 5 here in our fantasy football league. And I want to quickly preview week number 6, which has already started. So, without further ado, let's get it done. Week 4, we had all divisional matchups, and I will quickly run through the matchups and the final scores and so on. The first matchup in week 4 that I'm going to review here is between Turtle and Troy. Going into this matchup, this was the premier matchup of the season. Both teams started off really hot in the gold division. And after this clash, we've seen that Troy came out victorious. He won 204 to 187, defeating Turtle for the first time this season. Turtle suffering a loss. So Troy got a huge win. He catapulted himself to the number 1 spot in the gold division after this victory. So congrats to Troy. In the second matchup here in week 4, we have Steph and Dusty. Steph ended up winning this one 194 to 119. Steph had another solid performance. She's starting to kind of slowly get her team back in the race, keeping it in the race. So, good performance in week 4. And for Jared and Kyle, Jared ended up winning 241 to 136 over Kyle. Big victory for Jared. That was his first win of the season. And the last matchup in week 4 that I just want to breeze through and talk about is between Ryan and Mike. Ryan won this one 206 to 148, beating Mike. Mike is not having the greatest start. Certainly not one he was looking for when the season began. Now, let's go ahead and review week number 5, which happened last week. When I go ahead and finish reviewing week number 5, then I'll go over standings, and then I will preview week number 6. So the first matchup I want to review in week number 5 is between Jared and Troy, which was a divisional matchup for those guys out in the gold division. And Troy ended up beating Jared 203 to 156. Troy has really been playing very well, putting together awesome starting lineups, and with that, he is now all by himself in the gold division and the number 1 spot. The second matchup in week 5 between Ryan and Steph. This was a huge matchup. The winner of this matchup was guaranteed first place in the purple division, and Ryan beat Steph 209 to 180. Now Ryan is all by himself in first place in the purple division at 4-1. Steph had a pretty good showing, 180 points. You can't really be too ashamed of that, but she just ran into a hot team. So Ryan gets a little bit of revenge after Steph's week 1 victory. The other matchup, Mike and Kyle beat Mike 172 to 153. Again, Mike's woes continue. He is now in a 3-game losing streak right now. He's got to get out of that soon and start winning if he wants to win the division in the purple division. And the last matchup is between Dusty and Turtle. And Dusty beat Turtle 194 to 130. So now Turtle has lost 2 games in a row after starting 3-0 on the season. And by far, he put together his worst performance. 130 points is about as low as it gets. So after week 5, let's go ahead and look at the standings here. In the purple division, we're starting to see Ryan kind of separate himself from everybody else. Ryan has won 4 straight matchups. He's in first place in the purple division. He is now 4-1. In second place in the purple division is Steph. She is 3-2. She scored over 900 points this year, so that means she's doing a good job. But she's ran into 2 teams that have played really well, and that's why she's 3-2. In third place in the purple division is Dusty. He is now 2-3 after beating Turtle here in week 5. He's staying in the race. He's 2 games behind Ryan in the loss column, and he also has lost to Ryan, so he's technically 3 games back with the tiebreaker. But there's still a long way to go here in the season. So as long as he keeps winning, he can stay in the race, and he's just got to hope for Ryan or Steph to start slipping up. And then in fourth place in the purple division is Mike. He is now 1-4, and like I mentioned, he has now lost 3 games in a row. What that means for Mike, with Ryan continuing to win, is that he has to get on one of those 4 or 5 game winning streaks in order to seriously contend for the purple division title. Otherwise, he's looking at possibly a 6 seed or a 5 seed in the playoffs, which means a longer road to the championship. Now in the gold division, we have Troy all by himself. He's 4-1. He is 4-0 in his division, and that's something I think is definitely worth mentioning. In order to win the division this year in either the purple or the gold division, I feel like you're going to need a win, and you're going to need to beat your divisional opponents. And right now, Troy is perfect at 4-0. He's won 2 games in a row. So Troy's all by himself in first place in the gold division. He is 4-1. In second place in the gold division is Turtle. He is now 3-2 after losing 2 straight games. What that's done is it's helped Kyle kind of get back in the race, and it's helped Kyle just stay 1 game back. He's well on pace to eclipsing Turtle if he continues to slip up. So with that said, Kyle's in third place in the gold division. He's 2-3. Unfortunately for Kyle, he is 0-3 in the division, so he's got to get going, start winning, and start beating teams in his own division. And then in fourth place in the gold division is Jared. He is 1-4. He had that solid performance in week 4 where he scored 240 points. But since then, other than that, I should say, he's been snake bitten. Obviously, losing David Johnson right away. He got dealt a pretty crappy hand, if you ask me. So that's your standings after week 5. After reviewing week 4 and week 5 of our fantasy football league. I also wanted to mention for Steph, now she faces Ezekiel Elliott in the suspension. So now Steph's got to figure out what to do with him. I mean, the Cowboys are on bye here in week 6. But after that, week 7 through week 13, she's going to have to figure out what to do. She will not have Ezekiel Elliott until the playoffs if she qualifies. So That's kind of a kick in the butt, if you ask me. That's going to hurt. She's going to have to figure out a way to make up those points that she would get with Elliott in the lineup. So now let's go ahead and preview week number 6. We're about halfway through the season now. So things are starting to shake up and shape up. Right now, obviously, if we were to look at the power rankings, Ryan's right there at, the number 1 spot and so on. But for teams like Dusty, Mike, Kyle and Jared, they gotta, win. They gotta win. They want to stay in the race. If they want to avoid getting that 6th and final playoff spot, which means they would face Ryan right now or Troy in the second round. They got to win. At the end of the day, they got to win. So, let's preview week number 6. We have Ryan versus Dusty. A huge matchup. Like I said, if Dusty wants to stay right there with Ryan, he has to win this game. He's got an awesome opportunity to gain ground on him. All it takes is a win this week, and he will gain a game on Ryan. The second matchup in week 6 is Kyle versus Troy. Again, Kyle is 0 for 3 in the division, and Troy is 4-0. So either that stays the way it is, or that'll change. But if Kyle wants to come away saying, yes, my team is good enough, I feel like I'm a serious contender, then Kyle has to put a good performance together here and beat Troy here in week 6. And then the third matchup is between Mike and Steph, the two Johnsons. This is as big as it gets, if you ask me. For Mike, he has to start winning. Right now, he's not even in the playoffs. He's actually in last place. So he's got to start winning if he wants to, 1, remain in the playoff hunt, but 2, if he wants to win the Purple Division. The fourth and final matchup is between Jared and Turtle. Jared, again, snake bitten early, but, with just 1 win, he rallies off a couple wins just like Mike. Then they're back in the mix. Until then, time is kind of running out for Mike and for Jared, so they got to start winning. For Turtle, he's got to stop the bleeding here. He's lost 2 straight games, and if he wants to stay right there with Troy to compete for that gold division, Turtle's going to have to win this one. And that's about it. So as we move forward, like I mentioned, after week 6 here, we're essentially, halfway through the season with 13 weeks for a regular season. It's crunch time for some of us. For others, it's it's a prime opportunity to start separating yourself from your opponents and your divisional opponents. This is, the point in the season where you will start to see who's actually pretenders and who is contenders. And right now, when I look at our league, there's 5 or 6 teams that I really legitimately think could win this whole thing, win the whole thing. There's just 2 of us that I can think of right now who need to start shaping things together, start piecing things together if they want to be in that conversation. Until then, this is Commissioner Dick Schutz reviewing week 4 and week 5 and previewing week number 6. I will talk to you all as soon as possible. In the meantime, good luck in week 6 and have fun. And go Vikings over those stupid Packers.